Hey adventurers, so today is going to be my April wrap-up for my wrap-up for the month of April 2025. I read 7 books in the month of April, and 6 of them were audiobooks. I finished one ebook, and so yeah, let's go through these. I had a fantastic month of reading in April. I feel like April had... Is there a book that I disliked? No. Every book, probably, I would say every book is a 5-star. No, not every book. I'll get into this. But I have some of my favorite reads of the year in April. 2 of them, easily 2 of my favorite books of the year. And I don't... That's hard because I know that there's... I mean, it's only April and I've already read some of my favorite books of the year. But let's get into this. So, first one I listened to is A Study in Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is the first Sherlock Holmes mystery. No, yeah, it's the first Sherlock Holmes mystery, I believe. And it's the one where him and Watson meet and everything, and it's kind of what we get. But I know a lot of people have problems with portrayals in this book, and that's fine, whatever. I'm not worried about that. What I noticed is the storytelling in this book was incredible. I had previously, the only other Sherlock Holmes that I've read, at least recently, anytime recently, was a couple years ago. I read the Hound of the Baskervilles, which I enjoyed. It wasn't something phenomenal. It wasn't one of my favorite books of all time or anything like that, but I enjoyed it well enough. I love Sherlock, the series with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. I feel like that's an amazing Sherlock Holmes adaptation. But I just the character, and like I know the character. It's kind of hard to not know Sherlock Holmes as a character. But anyways, I loved this story. This story was fantastic. The storytelling that was contained was in the story is just fantastic. I had a ton of fun listening to this one. The actual story with Sherlock and Watson was like, that's a good story, and there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in there, of course. But I actually found that when we went and got the backstory of the characters, that the storytelling in that section was even better. I know that's where people have problems with the portrayal, but I'm not talking about that. I am literally talking about the storytelling of that section is very good, very well written. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this actual storytelling that was in this book. I thought it was very well done. The next one that I listened to is Idols of the King by Alfred Lord Tennyson. That's, I believe. This is his retelling of the Arthurian myth through a lot of, snapshots, poetic. He does some rewriting to tell it in a little bit more of a poetic style, and he just takes some various stories from the Arthurian legend. Kind of, he's almost in a way retelling the Le Morte d'Arthur, and it's fun. I love Arthurian stories. I am a huge... I've talked about it several times. I've got 3 videos dedicated specifically to my journey through Arthurian literature. And this one's no different. It's absolutely going in there once I get to my 4th video, but it's going to be a little bit because I've only read a couple books since then. I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping that I can do those more often and that I'm actually reading more Arthuriana. Anyways, back to Idols of the King. It was just very nice. I sat down and started listening to it. I'm like, man, I feel right at home. These stories are like, I know them, and he chose some of the best stories from the Arthurian canon, if you want to call it that, the timeline that is kind of created from that Mallory kind of created when he wrote Le Morte, and just told some great stories. And I just had a lot of fun with listening to that, refreshing myself on some of those stories, getting it from this different author's perspective. It's not blown my mind away amazing, but it was really good. I had a lot of fun listening to it. It's just nice to be back in pure Arthuriana. Then I listened to Post Captain. This is the 2nd book in the Aubrey and Maturin series, which is the Master and Commander series. So British naval storytelling, so much fun. I love these books. This is really interesting one, because they are books that I rate like a 4-star each time, but I enjoy them so much. Like, they're some of my favorite books that the first 2 books, I've only read the first 2 books in the series, but each time I enjoy them so much, and I still only rate them like a 4-star. And I don't know what it is about them that causes me to do that, but I really enjoy them a ton, and I just end up rating. I mean, it's probably between like a 4 and a 4.5. Honestly, that's not important. Anyways, let's talk about the actual story of Post Captain a little bit, give some details on that, because that's what I want to talk about. Post Captain, it continues the story of Captain Aubrey and the physician, the Dr. Maturin, and just their friendship. As I was reading this book this time, all I could think of is like, man, this movie, the movie, as it flopped, but it was perfectly cast. Like, the Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany are fantastic in those roles, and fantastic choices. And I can see why they are adapting the book the way that, why they made the movie, they adapted the movie in the way that they did. Anyways, again, not talking about the story, but there's a lot that goes on in this post Captain book, and seeing Aubrey in his journey to all of the things that's going on, but in his journey in his desire to become this post captain, and what's going on there, his why he needs this position, stuff like that. There's a lot of really good storytelling with that. Overall, yeah, we go to some interesting locations. We do some weird adventures that take place in this book, but overall, I just had a ton of fun listening to this one, even though it's, like I say, it's like, I think I only put it a 4-star on Goodreads, but it's still just so much fun to read. Now we get to my book of the year at the moment. I was so surprised, impressed, and pleased by this book, and that is Walking Drum by Louis L'Amour. I've read several of other of his books, and mostly the westerns. The only one that I have read that isn't more western would be the Sackett's Land, which is the first book in the Sackett series. Most of the other ones after Sackett's Land kind of become more western. However, this one is not western at all. This is not remotely western. But it's so good. We're not in the American West, is why it's not western. This is set, is it gonna tell me where? I mean, it's kind of set all over Europe. Our character goes all over Europe. Yeah, across Europe and the Russian steppes, and through the Byzantine wonders of Constantinople, gateway to Asia. And it's just so there's a lot. He's traveling all over the world, all over Europe. And the character that he probably my favorite new character this year. But he's a poet, or not a poet. He's a scholar first and foremost. Like, that's how he thinks of himself. Is he studies because he wants to learn, and he enjoys learning. He's also a warrior, a great warrior. He's seeking revenge, and there's like this whole revenge aspect of his storyline. But at the same time, he's like, but I'm a scholar. I'm just here to learn. And he goes to, where is it that he goes to learn? Cordoba. That's the one. He goes to Cordoba, and he spends a whole lot of time in Cordoba, and just the way that he's sitting there learning it. I don't know. I loved the series. I loved the book. I loved the adventure of it. I loved the character. It's one of my favorite characters that I've read as of yet. Definitely one of my favorite characters of the year. And just such a good book. So much adventure, so much. L'Amour has a way with words, and he does these things somehow where he just completely intrigues me, immerses me in with the way he writes books, with the way he tells stories. And I talked about this with Sitka when I read Sitka. There's a line in Sitka that just like really told me exactly what I was, exactly the everything. Okay, how do I explain this, because I'm rambling? It perfectly encapsulated what I feel anytime that I'm reading a Louis L'Amour book, and that's the same thing with this one. It's that same exact feel, and just I loved it so much. It is my book of the year, and I'm rambling, and I'm having hard time finding things to say about this book. So I will set it down and move on, because I do need to move on. The next book I listened to was Eulalia by Brian Jakes. This is one of the Redwall series. This is one that I have loved for a very, very long time, and it's about a badger. The main character kind of annoys me a lot. well, no, one of the main characters. There's like three main characters, and the hedgehog main character annoys me so much in this book. It's the voice that's used for the character that's what gets me. But the rest of the story is so good and so strong, and we see this is one of it's not one of my top 3 Redwall books, but it is one where I am just amazed by the storytelling of it. Jake's does a very good job with it. But I also noticed, and I've known this for a long time, this has some fantastic music in it, some of my favorite songs from the series, but also his use of song as a storytelling device in this book is fantastic. He also does a crazy thing that most writers wouldn't get away with, or would choose not to do at the very least, where he'll bring in characters for the moments that they're important to the story, and then kill them off, or whatever it might be. He'll bring them in for a very short period of time. You'll get to know them. Their part in the story will be done, and then they're gone. Or he will bring in main characters 3/4 of the way through the story that you just meet towards the end of the story, but they're hugely important characters. And the way that he can do that is incredible to me, because it's not something that most authors could do and pull off in the way that Brian Jakes does it here. It's just a great Redwall book. Obviously the audiobooks are fantastic. Brian Jakes narrates the audiobooks with a cast of people doing voices for the characters, and they're always phenomenal. But yeah, the music in this one has really stood out to me since I was a kid. Since I was first listening to these, I've remembered these songs that are in this and the storytelling that goes along with them. But yeah, so that I listened to Eulalia as well. The next one that I finished, and this was an ebook read, although I do have the physical book, and that is Desperate Dispatches by Mike Molman. This is book 4 of the Protectors of Pertani series, and I really enjoyed this one in a lot of ways. Okay, so every other book that Molman is doing in this series, he is doing like a collection of short stories to bridge some gaps, fill out the world a little bit, explain some of the other things that are going on, so then when we go back to our main storyline in the next books, we understand what has happened since that book, because these other events are important to the world. And so that's what he does again here. This is book 4, so it's the second. Book 1 was main storyline, book 2 short stories, book 3 main storyline, book 4 is short stories again. And there's, I believe, 4 short stories contained in this book, each of which are hugely important, telling a story about a different character going on a different type of adventure. Again, I enjoy these books way more than they have any right to be enjoyed, probably. I don't know, but I just have so much fun reading them. Molman's voice as an author is really strong, and I enjoy him. But yeah, we've got a dragon on the front cover there. That's an important moment, and a part of one of the stories, we get to explore more of the world than we have. The other books have primarily been, I'm not able to remember the terms that I need to, but basically this is set in a fantasy version of medieval, or not even medieval, of pre-medieval British Isles. And so we were on Britain, and then so some of the stories take place in Great Britain, Wales, whatever, that side of the British Isles, and then some of them take place in Ireland. But then also we go to Spain at one point, which it took me a while to realize that's where we were at, but once I did realize that, it made sense. Anyways, so we kind of are exploring new places in the world that we hadn't been to previously, or just hadn't gotten to explore in previous books. And so it's fun on that aspect as well. But also 4 good stories, some of them more enjoyable to me than others, but some major important events for the rest of the series going forward. This is book 4. I believe it's a 7-book series, so we're past the halfway point at this point. But yeah, so that's the one that I read on ebook. I finally finished that on ebook. Very enjoyable as well. And then I have one more book that I listened to, and that was I told you in my MBR, my quarter 2 MBR, that I was hoping to read this one for my pick for classic, and that is Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. And so I listened to this one narrated by Simon Vance, who's a fantastic narrator. So good. This book is so, so good. Way better than I was expecting it to be. I was kind of expecting it. I love classics as it is, and so I was expecting to enjoy it, but it was way better than I thought it was going to be, and it told a different story than I thought it did. I mean, obviously, I knew that it was a dude gets shipwrecked on a island and has to survive. I didn't realize how long that he was surviving for. I didn't realize the setup for any of this. I didn't realize the character that he was. There was so much that I didn't know about this book, even though it's a classic, even though I know I've watched movies about it, adaptations about it in the past. I probably even read a abridged version, greatest illustrated classics version or something as a kid, and I just had no memory of this story at all. I know that he gets shipwrecked. I know Friday is a character that comes in. That's all that I knew. But his survival, his story of survival is fascinating to me. I didn't realize that it was going to be so heavily Christian themed and based, and there's he spends basically he reads the Bible for the first time, and he learns there's so much about it. I don't know if I can remember the word that I was thinking about when I was talking about this or finishing this book up. I can't remember. That's unfortunate. I can't remember the word that I was thinking about to describe this book and what it was about. But yeah, just really, really good, really good book. Also, the way that it was written, the mix, it's mixed media. It's a mix of him narrating the story, but then also journal entries, and it's really well told, really well written. It works really well. It says here on the back, the classic tale of shipwreck and survival on an uninhabited island was an instant success when first published in 1719. So I didn't realize that this was how old this book was, but 1719, that's an old book. It says widely regarded as the first English novel, which that's very interesting. I didn't know any of that. I didn't pay attention to any of that. Didn't look up any of that information, and obviously that's just listed on the back of the book here. But yeah, very, very enjoyable book for me. One of my favorite books of the year. Walking Drum is number 1. This is number 2 or 3. But yes, very, very good book. I enjoyed this one immensely as well. That is my wrap up for April. I have no idea how long this has been. I don't have. I know that I rambled quite a bit, and hopefully I can edit some of that down as I am editing, and cut out some of the unintelligible ramblings, blank spaces, and not being able to clearly speak a thought or a sentence or anything like that. Hopefully I can cut some of that out. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite Adventure. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We post videos every Monday and Thursday, and have our social medias linked in the description down below. We will see you guys again soon. Stay warm.